Well, pain is just one of those things that people don't associate with nutrition or food. They just think it's pain, that this has nothing to do with nutrition. This is a medical issue. People say that a lot, and it's just not true. Personally, I know firsthand you can manage pain with food and nutrition because I do it every day. I have osteoarthritis in my spine, also known as degenerative disc disease. They wanted to shoot steroids in my back 4 years ago, but I wouldn't let them. Yeah, there's millions of people living in pain. I mean, just go through your Facebook feed and you'll see them. Oh, I had surgery on my shoulder, my back is hurting, my knee hurts, I've got arthritis. They think there's nothing they can do about it. So the first thing people will do when they're in pain, they'll reach for over-the-counter drugs. They love their ibuprofen, Tylenol, Aleve. All of these things do one thing. They function in the body in one specific way. And there's certain nutrients that do the exact same thing. And people don't even know it. Hi everybody, I'm Laura Cataract, Master of Science in Human Nutrition and creator of Food Facts Revealed, where we separate fact from fiction in the world of nutrition to help you make better decisions when it comes to food, nutrition, and your health. Today we're going to talk about managing pain with food. That's right, there are certain nutrients that actually act just like those over-the-counter drugs that you take for your pain. And I'm going to teach you what they are and how you can manage pain with food and nutrition and hopefully get off that ibuprofen forever. So, without further ado, let's jump right into today's topic. Oh, and one more thing before we start. If you like the content, please like and subscribe to the channel. Share, tell your friends about it if they could use this. Anybody living in pain, I don't care what your pain is from, whether it's arthritis, whether you had surgery and your shoulder hurts you that you had surgery on, or your knees, or you have rheumatoid arthritis, or you have back injury, anything, any kind of pain, okay? Pain can be controlled with diet, and you're going to learn how right now. We have to start by talking about the omega-6 and omega-3 fats. Now, hang tight because it's all going to come together at the end and you should be blown away. All right, so let's start with the omega-6 to omega-3 fat ratio. Everybody's written about this on their nutrition blogs, how it's way too high in the standard American diet, because it is. But seriously, the omega-6 to omega-3 fat ratio matters a lot when it comes to pain. This is just one factor that contributes to inflammation and therefore pain in the body. So, an optimal range of the omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acid ratio inside your body, which is based on your diet, would be about 2 to 1, okay? If that ratio is 2 to 1, your fatty acids, your essential fatty acids are doing like, just great, tremendous things. These things do a lot in your body that you don't even know about. I mean, they're in control of cell signaling that dictates neurotransmitter production, hormone production, and cytokine production, which we're going to talk about. And that's where inflammatory and anti-inflammatory agents come in. So we're going to get to that in a second. But first, let's just look in the standard American diet. If you've never watched my videos before, that's what SAD stands for, Standard American Diet. The average in our diet is 15 to 1. Omega-6 is way too high. So we have this massive omega-6 ratio, quite frankly, ends up creating a lot of problems for people. And it's not just when it comes to pain management, it's other functioning too, particularly with brain and cognitive function. This can affect that also. But for now, let's understand why this affects pain. If you have pain in the body, there's one thing that is certain, okay? And that means you have inflammation. Now, inflammation, when we talk about it from a nutrition standpoint, it's not anything you're going to see on the outside of your body. We're talking about internal inflammation inside, whether it's in your GI tract or systemic inflammation throughout your nervous system or even in your arterial system and whatnot, okay? So it can be anywhere. It's just within the body. This chronic inflammation that some people can have. Chronic systemic, meaning it's widespread throughout the body, inflammation, okay? Now, if you have pain, then you have inflammation, okay? There is going to be inflammation if you're in pain. Think about it. Think about the drugs that you take for pain. What do? They reduce inflammation. That's what pain drugs do. That's what ibuprofen does. That's what Aleve does, okay? They are the most popular pain drugs that people take are called NSAIDs. You might have heard of this, non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, NSAIDs, okay? They're very popular. I mean, people buy them by the boatload every year. So if you have pain, you have inflammation, and those drugs are going to target that inflammation. Now, you can have inflammation without pain. So just because you have some inflammation in the body doesn't always mean pain. But if you have pain, there's inflammation. So that's what you want to target. And there's actually nutrients that you can eat that do the exact same thing that your painkillers, over-the-counter drugs do, okay? And one of them is your polyunsaturated fatty acids, your omega-3s and your omega-6s. Why? Because these fatty acids dictate what enzymes are activated that make prostaglandins, okay? So I'm going to simplify this, even though we're going to talk a little bit about biochemistry. Hang tight, and I'm going to simplify this for you so you completely understand it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at is two enzymes whose function is dictated by the polyunsaturated fatty acids. Those enzymes are the lipoxygenases and the cyclooxygenases. Now, these enzymes control what prostaglandins are made. The lipoxygenase, okay, is going to create prostaglandins. And these prostaglandins can be either inflammatory or anti-inflammatory. So when it comes to the fatty acids and the lipoxygenase enzymes, omega-6 fats will tell these enzymes to make inflammatory prostaglandins, okay? Omega-3 fatty acids will tell this enzyme to tell the cell to start making anti-inflammatory prostaglandins, okay? As usual, this is very simplified, but keep following along. So basically what I'm telling you is omega-6 fatty acids are going to increase inflammation in the body because they're going to tell your cell to produce agents that increase inflammation. Omega-3 fatty acids will tell your cells to produce agents that reduce inflammation. So what you want to do first and foremost when you're trying to manage pain with diet and food and nutrition, you want to correct your imbalance of omega-6 to omega-3 fatty acids. Now, your doctor doesn't normally test for your fatty acid ratio. You can get this tested by a functional medical doctor or a functional nutrition professional, but most likely, if you're eating the standard American diet, you can be sure that your omega-6 ratio is way too high compared to your omega-3s, okay? Your 6-to-3 ratio. So where can you get omega-3 fats? Primarily, you get them from fish and nuts. Yes, you can supplement with fish oil, but you don't have to. Here's one thing important to remember. While you can eat fish and increase your omega-3 fatty acid intake that way, this isn't always the best way to do it because it's really important to lower your omega-6 fatty acid intake. That's the two ways you can correct this ratio. Increase omega-3s, lower omega-6 fatty acid intake. If you increase omega-3 fatty acids by taking a fish oil supplement or even eating fish 2 to 3 times a week, but you're still eating a lot of fried foods and you're still eating processed foods that are all made from corn, right? And corn is sky high in omega-6 fats. The ratio of 6-to-3 fats in corn is like 30-to-1. This is the best way to do it. Increase 3s, lower 6. Now, not just fish, but also seeds and nuts have lots of good content of omega-3 fatty acids, particularly walnuts. Almonds have some, chia seeds, flax seeds. Buy your flax seeds whole and grind them yourself. And when you grind them, you're going to get that fresh omega-3 fatty acid out of them. You can sprinkle them in smoothies or just sprinkle them on food, throw them in soups or whatever you like. All fruits and vegetables are going to have appropriate ratios of omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids, those that have them in it. Most vegetables and fruits even do have trace amounts of these fatty acids. You know, a vegetable oil comes from vegetables. So it's the best way to get it too. You don't want to be eating corn oil. These are the things you want to stay away from. The cheap oils that they're using in the fast food restaurants to make your fried foods, loaded with omega-6, not to mention they're all oxidized once you eat them. These are wreaking havoc on your cellular membranes and completely distorting cell signaling that controls the things I mentioned before, like neurotransmitter production, hormone production, and your inflammatory and anti-inflammatory agents in your body. So this is why fatty acids, healthy fats, are so important. There are unhealthy fats out there and we eat far too much of them. So that's step number one. Now here's another thing that acts just like ibuprofen in the body. And before I start talking about this little nutrient that is absolutely amazing, I'm going to talk about the cyclooxygenase enzymes. This is another set of enzymes in the bodies. They're called COX enzymes for short. And these you may have heard of because all those drugs that people take that are called NSAIDs for short, they are actually COX-2 inhibitors or COX-1 and COX-2 inhibitors. So there's two major pathways that the cyclooxygenase enzymes dictate. And that is the COX-1 and COX-2, okay? Now, back in the day when they first came up with pain medication, they developed it so that it would block both of these pathways in the body. Why? Because these pathways can lead to the production of cytokines that are inflammatory, okay? You don't want that if you're in pain. You want anti-inflammatory cytokines. So what you can do is you can take a drug that will block COX-1 and COX-2. Then, of course, they found out these drugs were causing ulcers. Some people were getting lesions in their stomach with just one dose, depending on how sensitive somebody is to the drugs. But they thought it was because they were blocking the COX-1 pathway. At first, they thought that was the only pathway that affected the mucosal health, the mucosal lining inside your stomach. So what they came up with is what they call selective COX inhibitors. And those drugs will only inhibit the COX-2 pathway and take away the pain and inflammation. However, they now know that even though you're only blocking the COX-2 pathway and not COX-1, long-term use will still cause ulcers and other issues within the gastrointestinal tract. So these drugs are not good for you. This damage eventually leads to nutrition deficiencies because now you have problems with digestion and absorption. If you damage your stomach lining, you can have issues creating enough hydrochloric acid, pepsin, the different hormones that help you digest and absorb your food. So this is a bad thing. Not to mention they also are detrimental to your heart health. So wouldn't it be amazing if there was a food that had nutrients that blocked the COX-2 pathway just like ibuprofen does? Well, there is. I'm just going to read this out of a textbook, okay? And it says, newly pressed extra virgin olive oil has ibuprofen-like activity for inhibition of cyclooxygenase enzymes. Bingo! Yes, extra virgin olive oil. I eat at least I should say I strive to eat at least a tablespoon every day. And some days I try to get even 2 to 3 in me. Why? Because I have osteoarthritis in my spine, also known as degenerative disc disease, okay? It was almost 4 years ago they wanted to shoot steroids in my back. I said, oh, no way. I am going to control this with exercise and nutrition. And 3 doctors laughed at me, 3 medical doctors. They were like, this is only going to get worse. It gets worse with age, yada, 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 yada. Yes, I understand perfectly. If I live long enough, there might come a time when I can't control this anymore with nutrition. But for 4 years, I have been controlling my pain with nutrition. And let me tell you something. It was so bad at one time, I could not walk for nearly 4 days. I could not stand up for more than 15 or 20 seconds. Any position I was in was excruciating, sciatica shooting down my leg all the way to underneath the bottom of my foot, down the back of my calf. It was absolutely a nightmare. So I know what it's like to be in pain, and I had to go through physical therapy and do some exercise, and then that's when I started drastically changing my diet. And I had just started my nutrition studies at the time, so I had great library to look things up and learn what to do to control my inflammation. But olive oil is a major anti-inflammatory food. Eat this stuff every day if you're in pain. Put it on salads. Try to eat leafy greens every single day. And if you don't eat salad every single day, fine. Put it on your vegetables. Instead of using butter, drizzle it on your mashed potatoes, drizzle it on your broccoli, drizzle it on anything. It really is not bad. Salt it, don't just put the oil on this stuff. Use it like a butter, as a butter substitute with some of your meals. People laugh at me, but I'll even throw a tablespoon in my oatmeal in the morning. You don't even taste it after I put like cinnamon and whatever else I'm putting in there, but I'm still getting those fatty acids that have anti-inflammatory value because they are lowering and inhibiting the activity of the COX-2 pathway in my body. And the great thing about it is I'm not going to get stomach ulcers because they don't completely shut it off. When you take drugs targeted at these pathways, they totally kill the pathway. Boom. So the problem is the COX-2 pathway not only promotes the production of inflammatory agents in the body, it also plays a critical role in maintaining the mucosal lining of your stomach. So you don't want to shut this completely down, or you're going to get ulcers and lesions in your stomach. That's what happens with these drugs. And then that can lead, like I said, to other problems down the line, especially daily and long-term use of these drugs. Not good for you people. Do it naturally. So you want to increase omega-3 intake, lower omega-6 intake, primarily staying away from corn, processed foods made from corn, and start eating olive oil. It's the oleic acid in there that really, it has amazing pain managing effects, and it does work. I'm living proof. So those are two major strategies. It's all about the fatty acids. Stay away from oxidized fats, fried foods. It's going to mess everything up because those things start getting embedded in your cell membranes. Your membrane fluidity gets very rigid rather than fluid, and that messes up all the receptors that you need to trigger the proper pathways for all kinds of chemical production, like I said before, the neurotransmitters, hormones, and whatnot. Many things. Everything in your body, you have to make. The enzymes are responsible for jump-starting the pathways to make everything in your body. So once again, another reason to stay away from processed food, because other things that can create inflammation in the body are processed sugars. Foods very high in refined sugars and table sugar, high fructose corn syrup. These are pro-inflammatory foods. Gluten is a very pro-inflammatory food. You have immune reaction in the gut when you eat gluten in order to digest it, okay? So a lot of, those are the two big ones. High sugared foods, gluten, which would be anything with wheat, barley, or rye. And of course, like I've been saying, fried foods. I know that fried foods taste so good. We love fat, believe it or not. Fat combined with salt, fat combined with sugar. I mean, it's our downfall. We just love the taste, the feel, the texture, how it slides down our throat. Everything is just so good when it's fatty, But fried foods are just so bad, not only if you're living with pain, but also for your heart health. So just keep that in mind. So that's the gist of it. I hope you got something out of this. Try it. It takes time. It's not like taking 800 milligrams of ibuprofen, okay? You're not going to eliminate your pain just because you eat a serving of fish and have a salad with a tablespoon of olive oil on it, okay? Your pain's not going to be gone in an hour or so. It takes time to correct those ratios in your body. It can take as little as 3 days. It can take 4 to 6 weeks. It could take 30 to 60 days for some people, but I swear to you, and I promise you, if you straighten up the diet, start eating whole foods, real foods, lots of fruits and vegetables to get your antioxidants in there too. It's very good to eat these fats with lots of antioxidants because they do create oxidative stress when they're doing their thing in the metabolic pathways. So again, whole foods is the key. And that's not what everyone wants to hear. I know we all want a simple fix. Isn't there a pill I can take and just eat anything I want? There's not. And everyone out there who's trying to tell you that there's just this one magic supplement, just take this every morning and that's all you have to do, they are lying and they just want your money. So remember, the key is always whole food and real food. So until next time, love yourself enough to eat whole foods. Eat real food.